Hello, and welcome to Health Crusaders, the podcast where we dive into innovative and inspiring health journeys, uncover expert insights, and empower you with practical strategies to live your healthiest life. Hi, I'm your host, Bob Priest, and today we have an incredible guest joining us, Aubrey Winkler. Aubrey has a fascinating background that weaves together traditional and holistic healing from her early passion for literature and anthropology to working in massage therapy, energy healing, and eventually becoming a physician assistant, specializing in psychiatry. She has dedicated her life to helping others heal in a variety of ways. And today she's also partnered with Life Vantage, working with plant-based biotechnology solutions that align with her holistic approach to health and wellness. Aubrey, welcome to Health Crusaders.
Thank you so much. That is a lovely introduction, and I'm so glad you reached out to me to do this. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it was really exciting meeting you and getting to talk the other day, and I've really had fun studying you a little bit, looking at the things that you've done in life, and you're pretty eclectic young lady. So I'm excited to introduce you to my audience and hopefully something that people will garner from what you do. Your journey has such a rich blend of different disciplines, from writing to Zen Buddhism to massage therapy and then back into Western medicine. Um, Take us back to the moment when you realized you were at your core a healer. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so it's a little hazy, but I remember the feeling in the day because I was out in San Francisco where I was living after college, and I was writing for Lit Mag, and I ended up kind of randomly working at this beautiful bookstore that was run by a Zen Buddhist, where people would come not just shop but also sit in meditation for like 4 hours every weekend. So it just had this incredible essence about it, that people were drawn to. So all sorts of people would come in and schmooze and talk. I remember one day this woman, Kim, came in who was a regular and would come chat with me all the time. And she was just talking about being in the flow with the universe, and kind of, instead of fighting it, just rolling with it, whatever that meant to her and to me. And somehow in there, I just got this feeling that I liked what I was doing. When I majored in English, I knew I was not going to be a professional writer. That's not what I was trying to do. And I just started feeling like one of my purpose was to want to be a healer. Then it was just a matter of figuring out what that meant for me. So I started looking into what was around. I looked into positive psychology, therapy, and eventually decided on massage therapy just because I loved the concept of, the power of human touch and how therapeutic that is.
It's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've enjoyed my experiences with massage therapists, and I go in tight as can be, and I come out just relaxed, and I feel like a different human being.
It's really incredible. And, you can go for the general relaxation, calming engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. And then there's that deeper work that is just so
Mhm.
specific that it can really help with injuries and pain. And, I found it to be wonderfully helpful.
That's neat. Now, you also have been involved in Reiki. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you explain what that discipline is? A lot of our folks, this is part of my calling, my mission is to crusade for holistic, functional, alternative kind of medical practitioners so that we can get the word out there that there's more to it than kind of the woo woo stuff. We're thinking about what this is.
Yes.
So anyway, go back and explain that to us and tell us a little bit more what it's about, what it really does, how it can open you up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess a good way to illustrate is in massage school, you learn, you practice and then you pair up and you work on what you learned. So one day I paired with this woman I was in school with, and after she gave me a massage, I said, "Oh my gosh, like, what just happened? That was the most relaxing, like healing 30 minutes of my life." And she said, "Oh, I was doing Reiki." And I had never heard of it. So she was a Reiki master, and she offered to anyone in the class that wanted to learn or experience it that she would do the attunements and, get us all involved. So there was a handful of us who took her up on that. And I am a skeptic by nature. So
Mm.
I went into it open-minded, but pretty skeptical. And what I found Reiki to be is, imagine there's this just kind of universal healing energy just there, right? In the world. And when you are attuned to Reiki through this kind of process, it's like turning the switch on a radio. So, you're flipping through and you get to
Mm.
FM 94.1 and then you hear the radio station. It's kind of like you energetically get tuned into that universal healing energy. And then you just channel that. You kind of like settle into it, lay hands on someone. You don't actually even have to be touching them. You can be kind of just like engaging with their, energetic field that's around all of us. Um, and through that, you just sort of are the reed through which this healing energy is channeled. And skeptic or not, I went in and had the most powerful, tangible, real life experiences with this that I came away an absolute believer. And um, just it's hard to describe, but when you are working on somebody and you can feel like whether your hands get hot or tingly or whatever it is, and it kind of you experience it as well.
Hmm. I
It was
um
cool.
my background was a music teacher. I was a band director. And in the world of band, everything's based around frequencies. How you play, everything you play, the instrument you play either vibrates or buzzes or taps rhythms and frequencies. So our body's made up of that. And can't tell you how many times in my life there would be a certain chord that my band would play or a certain pitch that one kid would play over another that would do something to my body. It would either relax me or I could feel the pulsating because I was in tune with it. The frequencies were the same. So I totally get what you're talking about. And I do believe it's a it's not as far fetched as we sometimes like to make things be.
Yeah, I
And
think it's pretty simple. I love that music analogy. That's so cool. I don't quote me on this because I did not follow up on verifying, but I swear I just saw an article about how there's finally research that classical music was like shrinking cancer cells, something along those lines. Again, not verified, but the premise is there. Like, it's scientifically clear that we exude an energetic field as
mm,
beings. Um, so the premise is really just different ways of interacting with that field.
well, you talk about the classical music. Back when I was in grad school, I had read a similar research paper that talked about Baroque music, which is earlier than classical. And it's Baroque music is very kind of generic. It doesn't have a lot of highs, doesn't have a lot of lows. It just kind of bounces along. And think about Bach or early Bach, Mozart, stuff like that. But um, and study. And if you would listen with that music in the background while you're studying, that you'd be able to retain more because of the way it's affecting your overall body. So, people could have looked at that as quackery or whatever back then, but I did it. And I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer that it helped me get through graduate school.
I mean,
So,
once you experience it, you walk away,
yeah,
feeling
and,
it's
and
real,
that's
right?
it.
Yeah.
When we can experience something, then all of a sudden we have a different opinion about it.
Yeah. And you know
So
what they
let's
say about
go ahead,
if
say
it
that
ain't
again.
broke, don't fix it.
That's right. So you made a really big shift from your massage therapy, your Reiki involvement, and you ended up changing to a whole nother field. But tell us how you got there. What happened that helped you to make that shift, or that maybe forced you to make that shift?
Yeah, so, long story short is I fell in love with a boy, so I ended up moving to Cleveland, Ohio. Um, no regrets, you know. I worked with the medical board in Ohio for several months before I went out there saying, here is my California certification. How do I translate it to Ohio? I took this huge test to verify I'm competent, do all the things, ready to go. And then when I got out there through the magical journey of Kafka, they changed their legislation to completely negate my entire massage training.
Oh my gosh.
So, you can do a little bit of massage without the certification, but to practice how I wanted to practice, that was done. And I was not going to go to school for the same thing twice because I can't. It's insane. Um, so then it was on to the next idea, really, you know, um, and that was very frustrating. And at first it was a little scary, but somehow it just transpired. My life's been very strange. And I've kind of thought of it as this series of wonderful stepping stones, some of which are very intentional and some of which were just very, I don't know, like guided by the universe or luck or whatever it is, right? But shortly after being out there and realizing I couldn't do this career that I planned on, I was hanging out with one of my friends who's in biomedical engineering. And he said, well, you thought about being a PA? You're smart. You like this stuff. And I had no idea what that was. I'd never thought about going into medicine. I found it really interesting. My dad was a veterinarian, so I grew up going and watching him do surgery and thought that was really cool, but had never thought of it for myself. Um, and then, turns out you can practice pretty high level medicine with your master's degree without having to give 20 years of your life to med school. Um, and that seemed very appealing. So I thought about it a lot and I thought back to massage school and how so much of what I really also enjoyed was the science of it, the
Right.
anatomy and the kinesiology. And, I can actually tell you one of the moments that I really fell in love with science. And it's when I learned that the more active we are, the more mitochondria our body actually make,
Absolutely. Yeah.
which is that blew my mind. Now being medical, it makes a lot of sense, but at the time I thought that was magic. So from there on out, it was, you know, let's learn the science. So I did a year and a half of the prerequisite classes that I didn't do in my, liberal arts undergrad and went to PA school.
That's awesome. I love my PA. She's my normal doctor that I go to, and she's got a wealth of knowledge. She's been doing it a long time. So now your PA degree was in specifically psychiatric work, correct?
So PAs actually don't specify in school. So we
Oh,
do
okay, they
general
don't.
medical education. When we do our clinical rotations, we do a little bit of everything. So then we leave school and more or less specialize on the job.
Okay, so and your specialty became psychiatric work, right?
Yes, and I actually did end up doing some added certifications. There's something that they came up with for PAs to kind of identify, like, oh, you've put a lot of work and you have expertise in this particular
Hmm.
area, called a certificate of added qualification, where you take this big test and spend X number of hours. So I did end up pursuing that. So technically, I am additionally qualified in psychiatry.
I'm sure you're qualified in numerous things because I know my PA is extremely, um, I think the world of her, and she's extremely intelligent. And
It's
her
awesome.
knowledge base, I would take over any other doctor that I've known, other than the one that trained her, because he was
Exactly.
my doctor originally before she took over when he left.
That's great.
Now, your background's in more holistic healing. So, how did that holistic healing influence your approach to patient care as of now?
It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because
Yeah.
on one hand, you have to look at somebody as a whole person. And so many of my patients have not just diagnosable mental health conditions, but also socioeconomic issues, relationship issues, health issues, pain issues. There's so much going on top of the psych that it's difficult because when you do specialize, really, that's all you do. There's only so many
Mhm.
minutes you have with someone. You have your wheelhouse, and it's challenging when you want to be able to address all these things, but you can only address what's in front of you. On the other hand, you know I think a lot of people struggle to acknowledge either their own mental health conditions or those of people they love because it's not something you can see, right? You can't test for it.
Mhm.
Only specialty. You cannot walk into an office and get a test to see what you have, right? So, because of that intangibility, I think people often kind of dismiss it out of hand as not being real conditions, but certainly they are real conditions. Just the
Right.
heritability of it alone should indicate that. Like, fun fact, do you know what is the most inherited condition of all medical conditions, not just psychiatry, but of everything?
You'll have to tell me.
It's ADHD.
ADHD.
Yep. Highest inheritance rate. And that alone tells you like it's a real chemical thing, right? Um, so it's both challenging wanting to address so many elements of what people need
Mhm.
outside of just the psychiatry, but also, that's where I am right now. That's what I focus on. So I just do my best to tackle that and, help that piece of the puzzle as much as I can.
I think that's awesome because that's such a needed area.
Truly.
What has been some of your biggest lessons you've learned in working with patients facing these challenges?
That's a great question. I love that question. Um, I think what I've learned the most is the importance of being outspoken about it. Um, so many people do struggle with seeking care in the first place.
Mhm.
And then once they do seek care, having the people they love on board with them seeking care or taking medication. So I think one of the biggest hurdles to getting mental health treatment is the fear of getting mental health treatment because of the stigma. Um, and I personally have struggled with depression as a adult my entire life, and I do all the healthy things I'm supposed to do. I have my therapist, I eat well, I do my yoga, everything, but you can't change your brain chemistry, right?
Right.
So at a point, you either better living through chemistry. Um, and it took me before I was in PA school years and years and years to except that I couldn't just fix it on my own. I couldn't think my way out of it. And then when I finally started, taking my antidepressant, it absolutely changed my life and opened up so many things for me because you're not in just survival mode anymore. You can actually, thrive in all the other ways. Um, so it's been very important to me to work with my patients and help them feel comfortable seeking care, feel like they're heard, um, kind of like educate them about their conditions so that they can educate others. You would be shocked how many people come to me and have seen multiple psychiatrists and don't know what their diagnosis is
Mm.
because no one ever told them.
That's
You know,
crazy.
it, it's bewildering.
Would that be the biggest advice that you would give to a person that's maybe afraid to seek help? Is that this is the reason why you need to seek help? Is because
Yeah,
of what you just said?
yeah, absolutely. It's what I tell people is like you've tried your best. It's not your fault. It can be better. You don't have to struggle so much. That's what I ended up telling myself years ago is it just doesn't have to be this hard, right? I
Well, it
tell
makes
people,
sense.
yeah, I say like if you were born type 1 diabetic and had to take insulin because your pancreas doesn't make insulin, would you be ashamed? Would you be embarrassed to tell your family? No, you would take your insulin. Like don't be ashamed because of your brain chemistry, you
Right.
know.
And that's a great analogy, Aubrey. That's you know, we all have different things. It's different walks of life we all go through. How can people take better care of their mental health in today's fast-paced world?
Oh man, put your phone down. I mean,
Put the
everyone
phone
says it, but
down.
Oh my gosh. I not to date myself, but I honestly feel like the endless exposure to social media has been the death of mental health, especially for kids. Um,
Yeah.
it's that endless dopamine ping is doing nothing good for any of us. Seeing everyone's however happy or pretending to be happy they are, it's 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 really troubling.
I
So I think
posted
that's
on
just the
that the other
obvious
day.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's really if you are doing the piece where you're getting the care you need when you're taking your meds, seeing your therapist, then it's addressing those other holistic elements of your life because you really have to have the balance. You if you have like great health, but your relationships are terrible, you're not going to be well, right? You might be
Right.
healthy, but you're not well. There's that dichotomy between like healthy and actual wellness in a holistic sense.
Hmm.
So I think just finding that balance and chipping away at the things that need, more attention.
I think that one word, balance, kind of goes in every aspect of our life. Um, Balanced in eating, the way we eat, balanced the way we approach that, balance in our exercise, balance in our relationships, balance in how we communicate. I mean, that we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But, in our conversation the other day, I found it very interesting of your unique way of co parenting with your beautiful daughter. And so I find that it's such a quite unique approach to how you and your former husband have done this. So talk about that a little bit and how you've been able to again getting that balance that you just talked about, getting that to work.
Yeah. Quite the challenge initially. We were all in Ohio. My daughter's turning 6 next week, so she was just barely turning 3 when we split up. And my ex and I had talked about the only reason we were in Ohio is because his son was there and we were raising him. So he was hitting adult 18, going out on his own age right when we were splitting up. So at that point, it was no one really has to be in Ohio anymore. We had the freedom to be where we, really wanted to be. Um, so I ended up moving to my hometown in Florida, and he ended up moving to California shortly thereafter. Because the
Well, that's
one
a
thing we
distance.
decided was, yeah, it's a commute. The two main things we decided on were we're both great parents. We get 50-50 time, however that works. And we're not going to limit each other on where we can live in the country. Um, so that has come with a variety of challenges. um, we kind of parsed it out so that our 50-50 time is split up over 14 years of her childhood. So she's in kindergarten in California this year. She was with him last year. She'll be with him for 2 more years. So we're doing 3 4 year increments of, she's with one person for school. Can't make her switch schools every year. That's terrible. And then the other parent gets the whole summer, all the holidays, anytime she's not in school. And we can go, I can go out to California and see her whenever I want. So um, last year was the first year of this, and it was incredibly difficult. I mean, I think anyone who's a parent would know that it's just
Mhm.
gut wrenching to spend 2 weeks without seeing your kid, especially at that age. This year's easier. It's pretty amazing what we can adapt to, and mostly she's incredible. She's doing great. Like she has adjusted. She's happy. She has two wonderful, loving homes. She's a great traveler. She's doing well, so it makes it
Right.
okay that it's hard for me, right?
Yeah. Keeps
Um,
mom from hurting so much.
yeah, exactly.
Of course, now when
So
middle school age comes along, it may be a little different story.
I was just talking to my, yeah, I call him my husband. We're not married, but may as well be. I was talking to my husband last night about who knows what's going to happen in middle school, but we'll figure it out. Um,
So
so
how was your go ahead, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Go
no, I
ahead.
was just going to say, I'm pretty much flying out to California twice a month. Um, Anytime I have her for a week or longer, I bring her home because I have two stepkids and they all adore each other. So, I try to bring her to Florida as much as I can so we can all be together. If I have her for a long weekend, I just spend it out there with her. So I have a weird kind of, nomadic coexistence. my closet set up in the trunk of my car so I can like be mobile in California. Um, so it's been an
That's
adventure,
that's a commitment. That is a
yeah.
commitment.
But
Um,
it's easy when you're a parent. It's you
well,
do the hardest stuff and it
absolutely.
feels effortless just because you love them so stinking much.
How has your personal journey of self-discovery shaped the way that you're raising your daughter and even your stepchildren?
Yeah, so I think I'm very fortunate in my life that I had one of my biggest aha moments in my early 20s, when I went and studied abroad in Australia for a bit and saw that they take like a gap year and travel or do whatever they want. It's not this very rigid, like you go to high school, you go to college, you buy a house, you get married, right? Um, and I just realized very intently that there's not really any rules to this. Like you just kind of build your life how you want it to be. And that's what I've really done. And that has been such a blessing because I'm not a fan of feeling obligated to do things because it's, the normal, quote unquote normal. Um, so I think that's just given me a lot of mental freedom to do things atypically. I'm actually really proud of my ex and I for figuring out this insane situation with the co-parenting and, it works for us. Right.
Yeah,
So I think not in a hedonistic way, but just in a way you structure your life. You can do it however you want. Like imagine.
absolutely. There, there's
Um,
there's no book that says this is the way it has to be done.
right. And I
And
think a lot of people feel really stuck. I think a lot of people feel like a lot of guilt if
mhm,
they want to do something differently, or a lot of fear of making change. And that's super natural. Like this stuff is very scary. Your brain processes change, even good change, as absolute, threat, right?
right.
Um, but I'm trying to raise my kiddo to be an adventurer. You know, we we're very intentional about not making this a traumatic thing for her, obviously, not making it sad. Um, I think she has flown and traveled more than most adults I know. Um, I think it really helps because when we were, a family unit, we did a ton of traveling with her, and she does not understand the concept of an Airbnb. So she just thinks anywhere we go and stay, that's our house. So to her, we just have like 30 houses all over the world,
Eh,
right? Like,
wouldn't that be something?
so what's two more?
And you don't
Um,
have to pay the taxes on it.
exactly. So
That's
she's
really a neat concept. And
incredible.
I went through a period where I was having to work commute out of town when my daughter was in her late high school years, and that was a struggle because she was an athlete and it was in music program, and I wanted to see those things. And it was a challenge to drive 2.5 hours to go to a basketball game or come home to see a concert during the week, but I did it. And
Exactly.
a lot of late nights, a lot of
Yeah.
tired eyes the next morning. But
Yeah.
so you do what you got to do as a parent. So I
Yeah.
commend you on that, Aubrey, and it's
Oh,
something that you just do what you got to do. And God bless you for not letting the norms dictate how you went about this, because we can get caught in that trap real easy. I've been there, done that, and still do at times get
yeah.
caught in that trap.
Yeah.
In our conversation the other day, you shared that you've been looking for a way to be able to kind of use your time the way you want to, not be locked down behind a computer screen to do your online health work, or have to go to an office or whatever. And you shared with me that you discovered Life Vantage, and also you've had your holistic background. So tell us a little bit about Life Vantage and how you met this program, and just a little bit about it to let our audience know what it's all about and why it caught your attention.
Yeah. So this really came about from our parenting situation. Um, because going to California twice a month, living out there, having two cars, it's a horrifically expensive
Mhm.
endeavor. And when it comes down to it, when she comes to live with me full time in a couple years, I want to have as much time freedom as possible to take her to school, pick her up from school, spend time with her, right? So I hit a point a little ways ago where I just realized what I'm doing, the kind of traditional office grind isn't fully sustainable for what I need for my life. And this was one of those biggest moments where A, I asked the universe for something and it provided. um, and B, just like not being attached to that sunk cost fallacy where you've invested so much in something that you can't do anything to change it, right?
Hmm.
um because I just started thinking like, okay, let's get creative. I've done a lot of things. I'm smart, I'm capable, I can learn. Like, what else might be out there that I might be able to include in my life that's going to help me with this situation? And then I kid you not, I had an out loud conversation with the universe about this. And I think within the month, I was out surfing because this has become one of my new loves, living in Florida, and out at one of my, favorite spots where everyone's friendly. And this nice gentleman floats over to me and we were chatting, and it turns out it's his birthday, and, having this whole conversation. What are you doing for your birthday? Tell me about everything. Um, and this was Gabe. And Gabe, it turns out, is one of the literal like top people in this company. Um, so he filled me in, told me all about it. And again, I am a skeptic. I've never done sales or marketing. It's a network marketing company. So I was like high alert, like what is this man trying to scam me into? So, obviously I did a lot of learning and research and talking to him and talking to other people. And, um, obviously I joined in, and this has been one of the funnest and most interesting experiences I've had in any professional setting. Like, I can't speak highly enough about it. So the company's foundation is that they make nutrigenomics, right? So Nutra is food, plant-based products, and genomics are how it affects our genes. So just to diverge for a moment, there's this concept called epigenetics in psychiatry. Maybe not just psychiatry, but that's where I learned it. And this is the concept that you are born with your set of genes, but environmental factors can flip them on and off. Usually we think about it in terms of trauma kind of triggering the
Hmm.
expression of a mental health condition maybe you would not have otherwise had, right? Which is wild. Like, we think we're not connected to the world and to nature. Like, literally our environmental factors can change our gene expression. So, fast forward to me meeting Like Vantage, and it's this, incredible company that creates these products that turn on pathways in your cells to positively affect health and wellness, right?
Yeah.
So it's that same idea, the things from the world around us in the right combination can improve our health from the inside, you know?
Well,
Um,
our body's a very powerful tool. We abuse it terribly,
oh boy.
but our body can heal if we give it the right information. And
Yes.
what you're talking about, I have found, and I'm not involved in this business with her. I have something else, and I believe in network marketing just like Aubrey does. It is a place that people don't understand, and it's just like insurance companies. There's a bad insurance company or agent, and there are bad network marketers or companies that don't do what they say they're going to do. They overpromise and underdeliver.
And
But
also,
when
by
you
the way,
have
there's bad
some,
doctors too,
yeah, same with
right?
doctors. And
Yeah.
so, when you find something that gives you the value that you need for yourself, and it also has that same value for others, that's a win-win. So why wouldn't you?
Right.
And they say, well, the people at the top always get the richest. That's not the way it works. And if that's the case, then our government's a pyramid or whatever. But,
Yeah, right.
so that's really neat. So what would you say to someone who is interested in learning more about network marketing and or even your business, but skeptical about plant-based solutions?
Sure. I mean, first thing I'd say is I love to nerd out. Give me a call. I'll talk your ear off about it. But just learn about it. The if you want to start somewhere, go to PubMed.com, which
Hmm.
is where all of the actual like peer-reviewed medical journals are published, which is highest level, reviewed science, and look up Protandim. It's the flagship product of the company, and there's like 30 peer-reviewed studies on it. So, the information is there. There's research done, there's studies done. Don't go to Google. Google's a nightmare. Go to PubMed or Google Scholar and explore these things.
And that's
And
an
don't be
important
afraid of
point.
network marketing. There's such a
Yeah.
stigma, but like, my goodness, it's been the difference to me seems like, where I am now, I'm hitting a glass ceiling. Like, it doesn't matter how good I am at my job. I'm not going anywhere, right?
Right.
Um, this company, there's like endless possibility of what you can achieve and more so help other people achieve because it's so service based. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
who,
it's
who,
a, it's a powerful way to do business, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah,
So, how do you see the future of healing and empowerment now
man,
that you've kind of
love,
gone full circle?
yeah, right. We kind of made it around. I would love the future of medicine to be more plant-based and holistic, right? I clearly fully believe in psychiatry and the need for medications in certain situations. Like, I would be the last person on earth to like say I'm going to debunk like your meds, right?
Hmm.
But I also spend so much of my time working with patients on the horrible side effects their med cause, right? And the other health issues the meds cause, and not being able to afford their medications, and the absurdity of our medical system. So I hope that more focus and more research goes into these more natural solutions because they're better for your body. I mean, like,
Sure.
getting your body to do the thing it's supposed to do is very different from, convincing your body to do something with a chemical, right?
And you're a little bit younger than me by about half, and and if I had had this kind of product you're talking about, or the product that ASEA brings to me, back when I was your age, knowing what it does internally, can you imagine when you get to be my age now, what your life's going to be like, probably? And if
I
you have
am
your daughter on that, and your husband or your boyfriend on that, and you get 20, 30 years down the road, can you imagine?
I'm so interested to see, right?
Yeah,
Because we don't know yet. But
that's right.
I use a variety of the products. I absolutely love them. I've never felt better in terms of energy and stamina. And I mean, just overall, I think I sleep better. Like, it's been so excellent. And I just started using one of the newest products, which is a GLP-1 activator. So,
Hmm.
instead of these semaglutide injections with the plethora of terrifying side effects, it again, flips the switch on, makes your body make more GLP-1 hormone. And I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm active. I'm a healthy weight, but I have a horrible sugar addiction, and my blood work is not incredible for, being the physique I am. And, I'm really excited to see how it just helps to like empower my goals of healthy eating and healthy diet and being active. And
That's
I think
neat.
I'm going to live forever. My grandma made it to 101. I think I'm going to make it to 150.
Oh my goodness. 101. That's one of those things you go, woo.
Yeah.
But how do you see your role in evolving as as a healer and an empowering leader?
Something else that I've come to recently is that leadership, I think, is the number one thing I want to pursue in my life. Um, I love being in the, I don't want to say authoritative role, but the knowledgeable, helpful, using my expertise to help others role. I've been coming into that more. And something I haven't mentioned, but that I've thought about a lot is I think there's so much holding people back from their well-being. That's all their own like mental constructs. I think people, and I think women in particular, but I think a lot of people struggle with shame and guilt. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but
Yeah.
it's endless. So I think that, if you look at what health means, it's not just physical health or mental health. It's the emotional, it's the social, it's financial health, um, and it's purpose. And, it's all of these things that tie together. And if I can create something that helps get other people to where they want to be, whatever that is, I think that's healing. I think that's kind of like my next evolution of how I want to help
That's good.
heal on those other, aspects of
That's
what
really
we are as
good.
people.
So, as we're wrapping up, I'm going to ask you one other question. If there was one message that you could share with our listeners today about taking control of their health and their future, what would it be?
This is tough, and I feel strongly about this, and it's a hard thing. And I think it's to really, truly sit down and know yourself, because you can't see what needs the love and attention if you can't, access and have like a real conversation with yourself. So that's kind of vague, but I think it's really difficult, but really important.
Hmm.
Um, and then once you see what it is you need, just be utterly fearless about finding ways to, make it better for yourself.
Say that again. Utterly
Fearless,
fearless.
right?
And when you think back in your life's journey up to this point, you've had to have that utterly fearless attitude to get from the different directions that you've had to change or move in a new way, go back to school, have a child, move the child back and forth the country, between two parents. That's fearless. And
Yeah.
bravo to you for that.
Thank you. I think I have a level of confidence bordering on delusional, so I'm going to just stick with that.
Aubrey,
See where it gets me.
it's been such an inspiring conversation. I love how your journey is a testament to the many ways that we can heal. And it doesn't have to be, physical healing. There's all kinds of different healing, and you touched on those, whether it's through touch or energy or medicine, leadership, education. Thank you so much for joining us today. And let me ask you this last thing that you can tell our listeners. Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about you and your work?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Good.
And it's nice to be able to reflect, and it brings me a lot of pride to see where I am, and a lot of excitement to see where I'm going to go next and who I can help. Um, but anyone interested in learning anything, find me on Facebook. I am there, Aubrey Winkler. I try to post a lot about kind of my journey. Um, if you're interested in just what our company is doing and all of the amazing kind of ways it can benefit health, there's my website is adwinkler.lifevantage.com. So check it out, shoot me a message, and I'm happy to nerd out with you on any science you want to understand.
That's awesome, Aubrey. Listen, folks, I've had a great time interviewing our guest today. She's a very unique young lady and has a great story that she is still developing in life. And I think she's going to go some great places. How about you guys? Thank you so much for joining the Health Crusaders podcast. It's been my pleasure to be your host today, and you all have a great rest of your week.